Many of us strive to be the best versions of ourselves in the workplace. We set seemingly impossible goals. We battle to achieve them. Often in that pursuit, we forget to take the same level of care and diligence with ourselves and with the ones we love the most. LodeStar is about those moments, the ones that shape go-to-market journeys and the humans behind them. We'll dive into the wins, the mistakes, and the lessons that don't fit neatly into a playbook. Hi everyone, Cliff Simon here, back with another episode of LodeStar. I'm sitting down with Jenny, the SVP of Global Sales over at Clio. How are you doing today?
I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm excited for the conversation.
Awesome. You've had a really great career so far. Love to, if you could talk us a little bit through RingCentral and then transition to Clio and how you've been doing with building out the team there and the success that you guys have had. I mean, 300 million plus company is nothing to snap at.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride. So I was at RingCentral, I was at a couple places before RingCentral, but I was at RingCentral for 11 years. And I started at RingCentral as an AE. This was when AEs were like doing everything. There were no SDRs and BDRs at that time. Like that was a new concept. I started at RingCentral early enough where kind of my career growth followed along the side of the company's career growth. And I was fortunate enough there to kind of step into different roles. And I led sales teams. I led customer sales or cross-sell teams. I led a channel sales team, a retention team during COVID, which is wild if we want to get into that. And so kind of like left RingCentral after these 11 years with this really holistic view of the entire customer journey. And I always stayed in the SMB space. So that I think that's something that's really unique about RingCentral in my experience is that I was always in scale, high volume, programmatic sales motions, irrespective of what part of the funnel I was in. And when I was thinking about possibly leaving, I had like very strict criteria of what I would look for in another company. And one of them was a customer-centric, mission-driven, SMB-oriented business. And even better if it was out of UCaaS, because at this point, it was early 2022, we were kind of on the other side of COVID, and the UCaaS space was just overly saturated.
I mean, 11 years anywhere is a long time. 11 years at a tech company is like 10 generations.
It was like arguably too long, but I would say that I had multiple, like I really had different kind of chapters within my experience. So even though I was at the same company for the same time, or that whole time, I was really like doing these 2 and 3 year sprints or rotations in these different departments within the company.
I get that. So like with Carabiner, I was there just about 5 years. And I felt like every 6 to 8 months was a new chapter with a new challenge, something else to do, which kept it fresh, right?
Exactly. Yeah, it's like if you're not bored, then great, you're learning, you're growing, you're engaged. But the second you become bored, that's when you know you need to make a change. And fortunately for me, those changes ended up happening within the same company, and I had really great sponsors and people that were supportive of my growth. And yeah, it was awesome. It was such a great ride, and it set me up for the next thing, which was Clio. And I had never heard of Clio, never really heard of legal tech. This was this, Vancouver-based Canadian company that, found me because of my SMB experience, and they really captivated my attention because of how, frankly, dominant they are in their market. And it's one of those products which I think Clio, people are starting to know more about it because we've grown so much so quickly. But, if you're not in legal, you probably haven't heard of Clio. And so when I started talking to them, I was like, let me call some of my lawyer friends and just like, what is this thing? And every single person I called not only said that they used it, but that they loved it. And I was like, oh, this is...
NRR might not be a problem.
Yeah. Yeah, like it's crazy. Like they had insane NPS. And it was really showing that it was transformative tech and changing the way that this very, cumbersome way of work was evolving. And I was into that. So they piqued my interest, and somehow I made the biggest leap of faith and enjoyed a company I'd never heard of and I didn't know a single person at.
How big was Clio when you joined?
We were at like 125 million and, roughly 900 employees.
Okay. And now?
Now we're 300 million and I think we're at 17 or 1,800 employees, and we're in the process of acquiring another company. So soon, both of those numbers will grow.
Wow. It's interesting, right? Going into a new space, especially when you're talking about like the SMB vertical within law, very different buying cycle. The power dynamics within a firm and the partner dynamics, like what was that like to get adjusted to and to help your teams as you're scaling them?
Yeah, well, okay, so think about the legal market, and hopefully you haven't had to deal with too many lawyers, but
I have a bunch of friends.
because you have a background in legal. So there's volume of the market is really in the long tail. And so I have a background in SMB, and actually one of the biggest surprises for me getting to Clio was that this market isn't SMB, it's really micro SMB. And you're dealing with, owners of law firms who are also the practicing attorney and also the billing assistant and also their own IT person. And it's they're wearing a lot of hats. And one of the things that I think Clio does really well, and is kind of part of our DNA, is we think about how we can advise these small law firms in a way that allows them to operate their firms more efficiently. And so we do that through discovery. We leverage corporate visions as our sales methodology. But we also just make sure that we make it all about the customer and not about our agenda. If that makes sense.
Yeah, customer centric.
Yeah,
And then having that 11-year background and seeing that entire customer journey really helps you then put that all together and deliver that back to your team.
exactly. It's all about, not just converting the customer, but making sure that they have a solid onboarding experience and that, are continuing to add value with new products that we're adding. And now with AI, we are not only becoming, a fully integrated AI solution for our customers, but we're also going to be introducing legal research, AI-powered legal research to our customers, which is a game-changing evolution in this space. And for the first time, we're actually going to be going more enterprise. So
Interesting.
we're no longer going to be an SMB company.
Huh. That's really cool.
Yeah.
One thing in the legal field that I think is really interesting, and I wonder how you guys tackle this, right? Lawyers typically charge by the hour. And as they use AI, those hours become more efficient, but then how do they bill back at the same rate? Or like, how have you guys helped your customers sort of think about those challenges?
Yeah. So it's a funny topic because you would think AI will actually, it's a fact. AI is going to put pressure on the legacy billing model of law firms. Their hourly rate is going to have a hard time competing against the efficiency demands that clients are going to have around AI.
Yeah.
And what we are seeing is a big shift to flat rate billing. And not only that, but leveraging AI to be able to take on more work. And one of the things that I think is very surprising, that if you're not studying this market, is that 77% of legal matters in the US are not serviced by a practicing attorney.
That seems crazy.
It's crazy. So there is all this latent legal demand from people who can't afford it. And so now with AI, lawyers are going to be able to do their work faster, more efficiently, at a lower cost. And all of these people who actually really need a lawyer, even for small administrative tasks, they're hopefully going to be able to get access. And our mission is around transforming the legal experience for all and really helping to close that access to justice gap.
Democratizing legal access. That's pretty cool. That's like a transformational thing across culture.
Totally. And it's going to take time. And one thing that is also very special about Clio is that our customers are obsessed with us as a partner. I wouldn't even call us a vendor. And they really understand the work that we're trying to do to help transform the way that they work. And so a lot of the innovation that we drive internally is led by our customers and helping them. I guess they're providing us feedback on the things that they want to see. And then we will kind of bring that technology lens in and say, okay, this is how we would approach it from a technology standpoint.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've grown obviously tremendously. How do you scale out and think about developing your leaders? Because one of the things I consistently see on working with companies from, let's call it 50 million to 5-6 billion, is they don't spend enough time developing the second and first line managers.
Yeah. It's so unfortunate how management is deprioritized when it comes to that level of curated coaching and investment. Um, and it's something that I'm really passionate about. So there's a couple ways that I approach this. Number one, we do a mid-year kickoff with just our leaders in the sales org every year. And this is a time where I bring in external consultants. We do deep development with them. This year, for example, we brought in storytelling with data, and we worked with our leaders to talk through how they present their ideas and their strategies up, out, and around to make it more effective. Last year, we brought in a consultant and we did a disc analysis and helped everybody not only learn their own disc profile, but start to think about how to coach their teams based off of their disc profiles.
Sure.
And so there's like that leadership learning and development that we do, but then we also are investing in tools and technology to make sure that they can be effective coaches on their team. And something I'm very passionate about is serving up proactive insights to them that allow them to hone in on hotspots in their business as effectively as possible. We're a high volume business. I don't expect my managers to listen to every single one of their reps' calls. In fact, if that's what they're doing, like that's the wrong activity. And so we have a very close partnership with our RevOps team to make sure that our managers have the information that they need to prioritize their time effectively in those areas that really need their attention.
What tools do you guys use for that?
We use CRM Analytics, which is, are you familiar with CRM Analytics? It's
On the Salesforce side?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have really dynamic dashboards. We have a really sophisticated RevOps team that has kind of built these dashboards, and we're serving up those insights there. Obviously, we use Gong. The team uses ZoomInfo. We've got a really sophisticated tech stack. And one thing that I would tell you that I'm still searching for is something that will help us, like in even more real time, look at trends at scale across my entire team. So I think what we're really good at today is if you're a manager and you have a rep on your team, like you can see kind of that one-to-one relationship. But how do I see across the thousands of calls that happen across my team every single day that a new competitor is surfacing, or that there's a new objection that is coming up more often, or we're winning in certain areas that like maybe we weren't traditionally winning in. And I think we can get there by having a hypothesis and digging deep, but I want that to be surfaced proactively. So I think with AI, we're getting closer to that, but
Well, especially in a highly transactional volume business, right? If you start seeing the same thing over and over again, those signals don't show up over the course of a quarter. They show up over the course of a week.
exactly. Like our business moves so fast. We are a monthly business, which is exhausting. You've got to have a lot of endurance to work.
I come from vertically integrated SaaS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You are like, there is not a day that we aren't sprinting, and getting those insights served up proactively is, it's the difference in making your month or not.
Yeah, you hear the same thing on 2 or 3 calls, 2 days in a row. You're like, oh, wait, I need to change my positioning. I need to adjust the messaging. Is there a problem with the product? Is there a new feature set that hit the market that we weren't aware of that came in from a competitor? So like, how do we make sure we're addressing that?
Exactly. It's we are always chasing something. And if there's a day where you feel like you have it all under control, something's probably wrong. And you have to spend the time really figuring out like what is popping up and how do we get proactive around it.
How have you empowered your managers and the VPs underneath you to be able to bubble that up quickly so that that's being disseminated across the entire organization instead of just happening within a single pod?
Oh, that's a good question. We are a very asynchronous business, but we also have a really tight operating cadence. So we have Slack, and we work fast on Slack, and we're responsive on Slack. So we've got channels, like competitive channels that we use. We have, a sales leadership channel that we use. We have a RevOps channel that we use. So we've got kind of those async ways that we can surface things in real time and get that feedback. We also have a forecast call every Friday, which, I think that might be a divisive topic. Some people might not love to have a forecast call every Friday, but it really, because of how fast our business moves, we have to have those touch points.
You need the rigor, right?
Yeah,
You have to inspect the things that you expect.
exactly. And so we have these KPIs that we're reviewing religiously on a weekly basis. And we expect the team to come prepared to talk to those KPIs. And it's not a mission to figure out who's doing a bad job. It's a mission to figure out where we need to swarm and support. And it's not just me on that call, it's marketing on that call, it's RevOps on that call, it's products on that call, customer success. So we know that go-to-market is super cross-functional, and it's becoming more and more cross-functional, and we bring everybody along for that ride.
Very cool. Switching tact a bit, it's tough these days to continue to build out companies, right? And to do that while also living a life. There's been a lot I've seen, like my teams have done research, and for you being a working mom, a high-powered exec, like how do you find the time to balance that out? Make sure your team is getting what they need. Make sure what needs to be done at home. Like I travel a ton too, so I'm always curious to get takes from other folks that are living a similar life.
Yeah, I would be lying if I told you that I felt like I had it totally together. In fact, every single day, I feel like I'm letting somebody down. And I'm not saying that because it's like a poor me thing. It's just my entire life is trade-offs, right? It's, am I going to be able to drop my kids off at school, or do I need to be on that 8 o'clock call? Do I leave the conference early and get to my daughter's birthday, or do I join this panel that I'm supposed to be on? And every single day, I think, Sam mentioned it this morning, that the more senior you get in an organization, the more isolating it can become.
Yeah.
And so if you understand that and you expect that and you don't take it so personally, even though some days you do, you can actually plan for it. And so what I do, the way that I try and manage it, is I have executive coaches that I work with, and I am religious about spending time with them. I join communities like Pavilion, and I'm part of Pavilion Gold, and so I'm part of a small kind of cohort or mastermind of individuals where we can confidentially talk about our challenges. Sometimes I just take a trip by myself and reset. But I think the key is being proactive and knowing that you're constantly going to be making those trade-offs, but giving yourself some grace and just doing the best you can.
Yeah. Kyle was here before, and one of the things that he and I were talking about, right, the rituals, right? He's got his rituals at work, right? This is how the weekly cadence with the team, the daily cadence with his inline managers, and then the regular cadence at home from this time period to that. What does that look like for you?
When I'm not traveling, I always take my kids to school. Like that for me is a really important time of the day. Even if I am not able to spend breakfast or some of that early time, I always make sure that I am the one that drops them off at school, and I want to be the last one that they hug and kiss before they walk in the door. And then in the afternoon, I really try to be done with work by 4:30 or 5, so that I'm the one taking them to their soccer practice or gymnastics or whatever thing that they have that day. It might mean that after they go to bed, I get back on my computer and I work, but I really set a boundary because I don't want my kids to wake up and say that they were raised by a nanny. We have help, of course, because I don't know how anybody does this without any support, but I just want them to remember that I was there for the important stuff. I'm the manager of my 8-year-old son's soccer team, which I did not realize was going to be a whole full-time job. I have to learn a whole UI and reschedule games, but
dealing with all the other parents.
Dealing with the parents, collecting money for tournaments. But those are the things that he's going to remember that I was a part of. And that's important to me, that I really curate those moments that matter for my kids.
Yeah.
But then when I'm at work, I am at work. I work from home when I'm not traveling, and I joke that I'm lock myself away in my prison cell. I barely have time to eat, but I am hustling throughout the day, and I'll do anything for my team, and they know that. I'll prioritize whatever they need. I'll bust through walls for them, and in a lot of ways, I kind of feel like I'm just balancing 2 families.
Yeah, I get that. 8 a.m. to 9 a.m., I'm with my kids. We do breakfast together every morning, and then 9 to 5:30, 5:45, I'm locked in.
Yeah.
And then that time comes around till like 8 o'clock at night when we get them all tucked in, whether it's a bath night or not. Like that's family time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if like I had advice for folks that are earlier in their career, especially if they have kids, I think a lot of times, especially in this asynchronous world that we live in, people feel like they can't set boundaries. And I actually see someone who sets their boundaries as a sign of maturity and someone who can say, I'm an adult, I'm going to get my work done, I'm going to get it done in a high quality way, but I'm not going to miss the, day where I get to go read to the kids at school
Yep.
or whatever it is. And I will always support somebody. And I'm very fortunate that I've got a supportive executive team in general, but there's a lot of women on the executive team at Clio, VPs, our CMO, our chief people officer. And if I ever say, hey, I've got to do this thing for my kids, the answer is always, we've got you. Prioritize your kids. And that, especially as a woman, is something that I'll never take for granted.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Hey, like for me, being able to say, okay, I'm not working this morning. We're going to the zoo or whatever it might be for that half day because my kids are still really little, right?
I went to the zoo this week.
That's awesome. Here or
Colorado Springs for my daughter's birthday. Yeah.
see, and those are the memories. Like I don't know, I want to make sure they get that too. I'm on the road. We were talking before, like 50-60% of the time, and
Yeah.
that presents its own challenges.
Yeah. Yeah. Being on the road is tough. I don't know about you. I get to travel to some really cool places.
Yeah.
But it's intense because when you're on the road, you are 24/7 in work mode. And then you have to explain to your kids like why you have to get on another airplane. And I know that one day they'll understand and they'll be supportive, and they're supportive today, but it still doesn't make it any easier for them to, say goodbye to their mom or their dad.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, my in-laws are an hour and a half away from here, and leaving Monday afternoon was like, no, please don't go. I'll see you guys soon, I promise. But Dad's got to go work for a bit.
Do you do the sleeps? I'll be gone for this many sleeps.
Yes.
Yeah. I'll be gone for one sleep.
I'll be gone for 3 sleeps.
3.5 sleeps.
Yeah, it's like, well, nap.
When you wake up in the middle of the night, right?
Oh man, yeah. The hotel thing too is always fun. So
Yeah.
how do you manage that with like your teams? Because one thing I found really difficult was always making sure when I was first getting into this sort of like travel all the time mode, making sure that my team had everything they need to be prepared and to be able to take on a day without having to necessarily be there in that moment to guide them.
Yeah, actually, that's it. I'm doing a talk later today around organizational design and how you supercharge go-to-market leadership. And one of the things that I've been doing a lot of deep work on at Clio is just thinking through what the leadership infrastructure should look like to make sure that you can stay at that altitude and you're empowering leaders to run their segment strategy or their functional strategy, whatever their job is. And I think that this is something that is often deprioritized with senior leaders, is making sure that you've got the right leadership infrastructure in place so that you can do it. It doesn't mean that it's easy. And, for me, I ended up hiring like a lot of people at the same time, which I probably wouldn't recommend doing. But but now I have a lot of really great new complementary leaders on my leadership team. And I hired them for purpose so that I could step away and do that stuff and be on an airplane and know that they would be able to run strategy without me there. And so the question that I always ask myself is, would I trust this person to represent me in a room with my CEO? And if the answer is yes, then you've got a no regret hire.
And you're also creating that next layer, right? So if you leave or whatever.
Totally. It's succession planning.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
business. It's a business strategy. It's not, saying anything negative about the embedded team, especially when you're in growth mode, right? It's really about how do you augment and supercharge your leadership infrastructure.
But that's something that's so difficult for most leaders, right? They're really good at executing. Like I think for most operators in general, right? They can do the thing so well, but they're not equipped and they haven't been shown how to replicate that in other people.
Yeah. I think one of the best qualities of a leader is someone who surrounds themselves with the experts and doesn't try and be the expert. In fact, I'm always saying like I'm not the expert here. Like I can see the field. I know where everybody's supposed to be. But like, don't talk to me about like a deep AI strategy. Like, let's go talk to this person because I know for sure they're doing the work because that's what their job is.
Yeah.
And we have to empower them and also give them those opportunities because that's how our leaders grow.
That's right. Kyle's just done 2 to 50 million, right? You don't get to do that unless you get put in a seat to try.
Yeah.
And someone has to believe in you to give you that opportunity. And I feel all too often, especially in venture, uh, companies want like the known quantity as opposed to trying to find the next person that can grow and really accelerate their career into a role.
Yeah. I think that there's a balance. You've got to give people the opportunity to grow into roles, and you also can't be afraid to bring new external people into the company. And you have to balance that. You have to change manage it. You have to be very intentional about that strategy. But one of the things that I'm even doing right now is bringing people with no SaaS sales experience into my leadership team because right now we need discontinuous thinking to bust through some of these obstacles that we're facing. And somebody who is still running the playbook of 5 years ago is not going to be successful. And I really want people that are going to kind of challenge that status quo.
One of my favorite hires I ever made had no sales experience before, but was a Navy SEAL for over 20 years.
Oh, yeah.
So like had been trained to break down the most complex things into all of their distinctive parts and then be able to problem solve for that and then put it back together and present that through. Like, oh, that's such an incredible skill set. And you don't have to have the SaaS background to do that. Like as long as you can have critical thinking and you're curious and I think those are things I typically look for.
Yeah, exactly. You've got to build a diverse team. If everybody is copy and paste, then you're actually not getting leadership leverage.
Yeah, that's fair. That's absolutely fair. Anything else you want to touch on while we're here?
We are moving into this enterprise space.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a unique time for us to be growing because now we're having to like change our SMB brand to be kind of like we're here for all of legal. But I don't, and we're hiring into the enterprise space, but I don't know if that is natural to what we've been talking about.
I mean, the natural takeoff point there is you've been running a go-to-market motion for the last however many years as a company, and for you, last 3 years there as a leader, you've been running all of that based off of an SMB go-to-market motion. The buying cycle is going to change, right? The personas are going to change. The way those personas get interacted with at the different points of the sales cycle or the customer journey, let's put that. Those things all change. So how do you then make sure you realign the way that you're doing your annual planning, your size of prize, the way that you even speak into the market from positioning and messaging perspective? Those things all need to shift in order to go towards the enterprise.
Yeah.
So what's the strategy there? How do you put that in place in a way that allows you to go for as much upside as possible without sacrificing the brand and the trust that you've built within the rest of the community? Because you don't want your SMB customers to feel like you're leaving them behind. And I think that's something that very often happens when you go enterprise. Everyone starts looking at the AmLaw 200 and you get really excited about that and you start building product just for them, and the legacy products ends up falling by the wayside and you start churning because of that. So I don't know, maybe something like that.
If you want to.
Go for it. Yeah.
Okay. So you just want me to answer that?
Oh yeah. No, I should ask you a question. You mentioned that you guys are going into the enterprise space. That requires a wildly different mindset and a very significant shift in the way you think about customer journey. How are you going to do that?
Great question. Look, we are going to do it very intentionally. I don't think that we
are going to be reckless in just saying, oh, we're Clio and we have a right to win in the ant-law space. In fact, what we are going to do is protect our existing base and our existing focus on the small law space, the SPOE space. We are going to maniacally protect that because that is what we were built on. It's the foundation of everything we do. So I think this is more of an and strategy than an or strategy. A lot of companies start to move up towards the enterprise space and they start to, shift their focus and deprioritize. But the reality is our market still is going to be in that long tail. And the goal with the enterprise space is going to be a curated approach. We are going to hire people with the relationships. We are going to hire lawyers who have done the job before and got to pivot out of a law firm and into tech. We are going to be deploying deployed engineers to help build custom tech for these law firms to help them do legal research and case management more effectively. So yeah, it's going to be a bit of a journey for us, but we're bullish. And one thing that I know about our CEO, Jack Newton, is once he decides he's going to do something, he does it, and he does it so well. We've got an incredible team, and we'll continue to augment that team to make sure that we're going to be the best.
When it comes to that, that's going to require a whole new level of GTM orchestration.
Yeah.
How are you starting to think about that from a process build and how that ties back to this enterprise customer journey?
Yeah, so we're essentially building a whole new business.
Yeah.
What we're not doing is taking our existing go-to-market motions and putting enterprise in front of it. That will never work.
100%.
The way that you outreach to these firms is very different. The relationships that you have to have are very different. The curated communities you have to build is very different. And so we are going to have dedicated enterprise cross-functional teams that are just focused on this and really ring-fence that in its own entity so that we can protect the SMB while we continue to pursue this upmarket journey.
Okay. That absolutely makes sense. Very cool. I look forward to watching.
Cool.
This was great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. This was fun.